Maya Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balaho Om Ay Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Balahom Om Namo Gurabedadre Lojana Tarena Kiremal Guramamanda Siddhi Shiramal Paramamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Paramamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi Bala Hong Om Namo Guru Vedadrike Lojanata Rena Shiramal Guru Mamanta Siddhi
大众请起立。众向上师三宝三顶礼或三问讯。大众请就坐。皈依发心，魔鬼 解脱于变智者为主之，遍虚空如母众生具足一切乐，远离一切苦，速得真清净圆满珍贵无上菩提。愿一切对我嗔怒之怨敌、损恼之魔鬼及障碍解脱于遍智者为主之，遍虚空如母众生具足一切乐，远离一切苦，速得真清净圆满珍贵无上菩提。
地吉的法玛吉迦巴德勒玛耶桑给瓦拉gói玛吉巴德勒玛耶给瓦拉gói对对那种的耶玛桑达桑吉巴德勒玛耶给瓦拉gói。
此之故，为正觉前应加于身语意于善法；为命中前应加于身语意于善法。从今日起至明日此时，应加于身语意于善法。诸佛正法一心种种尊，知觉不离我愿心归依，以我所行许乐诸福人，为众生庄严的白果，庄严。 上师，祈请闻。
揭露，给了本来从就可是，道具他们从人看着，从前日过的送可人，世界国破三界揭露，出现出现见证可是，我是我那我们干。我在不接着当可是，只是大然那大揭露，三下所知真正可是，所觉可难平面可当，可是可是是方可就，这样境界王不揭露。而且今天真正可是，并且所有能把参与，而且中外的万个人，不算这个不解揭露，而个文化从中可是，被落曾经的万参与。现在公司的小个人被骂过了被发揭露，被公被别从中可是，这个跟随公法的，三个用字光是个人，把万有点讲作揭露。天就上帝公正可是，上下之心可过天意，三个跟随的女大人，这些或者他也揭露，三百被写三者可是，各个中间三百揭露。今天平安的心可真，别马改结往所揭露，看见文字印证可真，我们眼前何人多人，而虽不知见分可真，给你用中人马揭露。人间看见人生可是，四个干嘛就算前行，我是真要的所可真，只愿可被上上揭露，可多感念为中可是，所谓大舍来愿见意。这些当前各般人也，也马当着圣洁灵验的作业，我面对那空外有人讲，说从空外外面用这样，多年跟着三样的写字，他们听我多些修的字。用心的写完新家我，很有所长的写同分享，不免心切三月大白下，当年发发的万里来下，此日当下大众都消费，三分经络都先修的人，可是明年可否新家时下可是各般的家庙，早在一年曾下色乱落，各样各万的带是这样，各项各的在被你落过，他们给我多些就得罪，不下从那空外增加了，真的就变成有所自然。并且草间草地边边有，一个最像可笑小狮子，中间可做旁边不温柔，上世纪多个些 修不是，一无所求，众我心交融，一个门方可安并且行，别觉高莫高自等后追，正论变多十年更有罪，各断各真众不有时常，万万之多可见修不是，各道相别自我心交融，万有无善道修内造，一有真为中央不有表，一有四道更有修不为，各生各断之间不可法，三观之多可见修不是，三德莫待修佛心交融，一无高见共波不自由，三界春天各莫烦恼有，各些春天随觉各善果，解脱之道少分不分己，三门之多可见修不是，我知真别各处心交融，各别众生各生各有情，三界各门各色各对家，众生各相不学各内境，一有空智各难各自解，三门之多可见修不是，心觉各断各法心交融，我会没有理论全观众，都是自的并舍相别作，各个高阳各者各分果，各些君王更相都生死，三门之多可见修不是，心的高雅口耳心交融，世生高我高马日养。一段罗浪的三心老师，一国的三次尊不虚尊，谁问个社会学有如此，三门之多可见修不是，谁来相信对我心交融，各个康僧也分康僧见，各个内法各门各百名。不怕就是最所的为水，只怕就是往复所交融，三门之多可见修不是，看那个我相为心交融，各家各法相传各不下，难得康僧各大各相别，各对各生各毛各门别。应当相对各个诸法之，万万之多可见修不是，自己两个都我心交融，三个为所能见不消长，一个不算随便不不大，烦恼没现之类可见光，别罗洋洋，必要洋洋讲。三门之多可见修不是，让修让见从我心交融，大列空虚各法可分尽，日日感谢上修可遮好，让我相信随修能别讲，一个感动三门之重为，三门之多可见修不是。此时康有各个心交持，各以康修从此随作用，心学推荐甚至不学习，随有康个分修之法行，心路当列不多马相随，三门之多可见修不是，各作所为不法心交持。所念真人能会当别生，虽也非他所念成佛果，但求天下各个不可有，因他他天爱他的拉着。
觉也可行出不时，最他交换能力请加持，空过心性上升变身相，知道了解身为自然网，我的经验最新是具象，所作所为开明心见长，看世觉也可行出不时，心性增长文外请加持，自信自觉自经最会时，妄念即是要生最不悟，国家其实人生最不悟，自然其实人心却不行，上升觉也可行出不时，自念自知自得请加持，自然学外行者不虚想，更大心意更远更实修，业过世界成者不有法，业知世虚不必学外在，上升觉也可行出不时，知修不管怎么请加持，往昔恩言无觉更实现，所在一切众生更不逢，恩言主觉最真并没有，无言言人随修学外在，上升觉也可行出不时，觉大每日心存请加持，空过相觉觉大没分了，最后觉着我们为所愿，可着众家可见相觉海，并且结果会个着着我，上师觉也可行出不时，更加着身最后请加持，各业身边学习请加持，共下所学空外请加持，修外行者必请加持，内在世界业外请加持，当下本业展开请加持，所生觉也自发请加持，业业能得道外请加持，离佛让对自发请加持，不加世界学法请加持，最高本然业法请加持，自力心中心无请加持，当下各在各法请加持，必须呈现这法请加持。
So then, my friends, yesterday we stopped in our text, in the English text, on verse number 39. And so we have said that I'm stupefied in darkness, and as to what should be accepted and what should be rejected. And because we are blinded by ignorance in this way, because there is this sense of a self present constantly, uninterruptedly, the various thoughts of attachment and aversion arise in our mind. Also on the coarse level, there are thoughts of attachment and aversion, and their subtle counterparts are hope and fear. Hope is the subtle form of attachment, and fear is the subtle form of hatred or anger. So that need to be understood, because this is really what determines, what drives all of our activities. We always think that I have to do this or that, I have to accomplish this or that. Even on a very subtle level, for example, I want to drink a nice cup of tea, and then you want to drink it, and then you feel that the tea is not just quite the way you like it, and it needs something else in it, and then it needs something else. So you whatever that self needs, that is this attachment, and just this wish to have a nice cup of tea, or to have an aversion against something, if the tea is not quite right. So if you recognize all of that with clear awareness and see the fault in that, then actually these thoughts will become liberated. And so then actually there is no difference between a nice cup of tea or not. You can drink anything. But otherwise, if you don't recognize that, then there is constantly going to be something that doesn't quite go your way, and one thing is not okay, and then another one is not okay, and you have various needs and preferences, and that is because the self is this me so important, and therefore by all means everything has to go the way I want it to be. And so the stronger this sense of the self is, the more it will back up the other afflictive emotions. And so the stronger that sense of a self is, the more it will justify and support the afflictive emotions. And so then also all of our outer enemies and hindrances arise from actually only this, our own grasping at a self. And so then being in this darkness as to what should be accepted and what should be rejected. For example, everyone really considers their body as very important. So whether one is a religious person or not, everyone considers their body as most important. And if you consider your body as important, then you will consider your physical health as very important. And yet, so many people in this world smoke and drink alcohol and take all kinds of intoxicants. And are we really thinking about the harm that is being caused by doing that? We might be aware of that, but still we can't control ourselves, and we still do it. So just naturally, we can't help ourselves. And so that is a person who is ignorant as to really what should be done and what should not be done. And such a person doesn't understand the fault in the affliction arising. So then, even in a worldly sense, not even speaking about the Dharma, it is really necessary for our well-being to understand what is harmful and what is beneficial, what should be done and what should not be done. Even in a worldly sense, in the mundane system, ultimately we're going to die, and these kind of behaviors like smoking and drinking and so on will actually kill us, and in the end we will become just like burned to ashes. And even in human society, such humans are more considered like animals, not really like human beings. And in this way, many people really waste away their lives, completely controlled by their desires, without any control over them. And so if that is the case, then later, after they have died and the consciousness wanders in the bardo, then again they will have no control over their desires. They will become controlled by it, and that leads to birth as a hungry spirit, for instance. So this is just how things naturally then ripen. And so then also in the Dharma, first when we meet the Dharma, we do have great devotion and faith, and we really want to practice, and we feel really inspired. But then on the other hand, we also have a strong tendency of being attached to this worldly life. And so we do have some intentions of practicing the Dharma and thinking that it's probably very useful. But then once the recitations and the practice starts, all of a sudden everyone is falling asleep. However, if anything important happens, then immediately the mind becomes very clear. So if it's anything important that has to do with this life, then suddenly we wake up and we just think about that, and the mind is very clear. So that is a sign of being very much attached to this worldly life. And so that is important to recognize, first of all. Otherwise we just naturally follow these tendencies. And then it says, when practicing the Dharma, I fall under the influence of dullness, torpor, and sleep. And when not doing the Dharma, I'm clever and my senses are alert. So the root of all this is these subtle tendencies of attachment and aversion that remain unrecognized and are allowed to remain within the mind. And then we have no control over them when they arise. So we supplicate, Guru, think of me, look upon me quickly with compassion, grant your blessing so that I conquer my enemy, the emotions. So that's our true enemy, becoming controlled by the afflictive emotions. And even in this life, one will become sort of an outcast of society. But basically, whatever you do, whether it's Dharma practice or mundane activity, you will be lost in those activities. So such a person who can't stop smoking and drinking or taking drugs and so on, they will not find a good job. And even if they work in, let's say, a government office or so, people will speak badly about them and not really pay them any respect. And then that's just in a worldly sense, and even more so it is the case in the Dharma, because according to the Dharma one, then that kind of behavior then really leads to the ruin in this life and all future lifetimes to come. So we must recognize the afflictions to be our true enemy here. For example, when you look around in this world, all the difficulties, for example, wars in the world, are created by those afflictions ultimately. For example, a war is created by hatred. And then where is that hatred? Actually, you find it in your own mind stream. You get angry at your parents and your friends and so on. So that's your true enemy. And if you recognize its fault, you will understand that if I allow that to remain within my mind, then in the future I will also take birth in such a miserable place and experience suffering just as they do. So in this way, as you continue to recognize the fault of the subtle and coarse forms of attachment and aversion, they will gradually become released. They dissolve in the mind. And so one thought eliminates the other. Two thoughts or two states of mind cannot coexist simultaneously. So it's not possible for two states of mind to be present at the same time. So therefore, if you recognize the afflictions, then naturally they will go away. So you recognize that all outer suffering, all outer enemies are really ultimately created by the true enemy, the afflictive emotions. So think about this again and again. And even if the slightest affliction arises, recognize it. If you're able to recognize it and not become controlled by it, then that is the supreme way to practice. Such a person is endowed with great intelligence or wisdom. And so this recognition of afflictive emotions is actually the guru that we supplicate. So it is the awareness that instantly recognizes the affliction as it arises. So first of all, your guru is compassion, because this is the first thing your guru has introduced you to. And then secondly, you were introduced to the nature of awareness, your wisdom mind. And then recognizing that within yourself, that becomes the guru within. The inner guru is your own inner mindfulness, your awareness. And so it is with this inner guru that we are supplicating here, with this clear awareness or mindfulness, that we have to recognize all the afflictions that arise. So the actual enemy are our afflictive emotions, and on the subtle level, they are those thoughts of hope and fear. And normally we don't really regard those afflictions as an enemy actually. So how we should treat them to begin with is we have to equalize them, make hope and fear become the same. And no matter what you do, whether you practice Dharma or engage in worldly activity, we cannot really actually be without hope and fear, really. They always come. No matter what you do, these thoughts always arise naturally. We naturally have hopes to accomplish good things and fears of not accomplishing them. So then how do we handle these when they arise? So for example, if there is an activity and you think that this is something I definitely want to accomplish, then if you accomplish it, normally you would develop pride. And if you do not accomplish it, you would be miserable and you would lose your inner strength, your mental determination. You would lose heart. And so that needs to be equalized. It becomes kind of equalized and then suppressed if you understand, first of all, the workings of karma. And that is to know that if I do want to accomplish this activity, however, whether or not I will successfully do so depends on my own karma. If it is accomplished, then it is due to the merit I have accumulated in the past. It is the blessings of my own